August,
1619.
Point Comfort, Hampton, Virginia. A ship appears in the distance. On this ship is a crew of workers and 20 enslaved Africans. Upon arrival at the coast, the ship's crew were met by colonists. These colonists purchased the 20 enslaved Africans. The purchase of these slaves in the following years to come played a lasting role in forming the country that we have today, and the legacy of slavery and segregation can still be seen, part of our everyday lives, in ways you wouldn't even think twice about, from music to healthcare
to traffic jams.
Let's take a trip back in time to January 3rd, 1895. The 13th Amendment is passed, abolishing slavery. When slavery was abolished, the racism and segregation didn't just end. Black codes were enacted, bodies of law, statutes, and rules enacted by Southern states immediately after the Civil War to regain control over the freed slaves, maintain white supremacy, and ensure the continued supply of cheap labor. A majority of the white population wanted African Americans in their communities out of sight. To achieve this, many whites forced black communities to move into low-income neighborhoods, also referred to as ghettos, parts of a city or town, typically in poor areas. In The Help, a book written by Catherine Stockett that takes place in segregated Mississippi in 1963, this separation is evident. One of the main protagonists, Evelyn Clark, one of the many black maids in the book, dives deep into the separation of the town, with the white side of town being described as nice and pretty on the outside, while the black side of town is, quote, one big anthill. These ghettos are in very poor condition, and as the number of residents there grows by the years, they are unable to expand, and their part of town just gets thicker. Atlanta, rush hour. Your alarm doesn't go off. You're late to work and get caught in traffic. A 14-lane mega highway piled up 3 miles back. Atlanta's traffic is some of the worst in the United States, but not solely because of overcrowding, bad drivers, or car accidents. In Atlanta, as in dozens of cities across America, daily congestion is a direct consequence of a century-long effort to segregate the races. Due to the consistent segregation of races in Atlanta during the 50s and 60s, highway layouts were placed directly through low-income neighborhoods, typically targeted at separating the black and white races even further. They used the highways as walls to, quote, protect white neighborhoods. While the placement of these highways was successful in keeping the separation of races, they were unorganized, slow, awkward, and inefficient. Over time, as the new suburbs ballooned in size, traffic along the poorly placed highways became worse and worse. Because the highways and freeways were so inefficient, the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority, or MARTA for short, suggested the use of buses or trains for faster transportation. But many suburban counties, a majority being nearly all white, rejected the idea due to its heavy black ridership in the cities. Due to so many counties rejecting the idea, MARTA became a city-only service. In early 2019, MARTA was rejected for the third time. Ultimately, the suburbanites chose to sit in 3 hours of traffic over integration. So what can be done? A majority of experts suggest more rapid transit, light rails, and bus lanes. Many have suggested that the state becomes more involved with MARTA, making the cost of bus rides free, removing the current paid bus card system. Another thing that must be done is the enforcement of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which is the banning of racial discrimination in the sale of rental or housing. While it is against the law to not sell a house or rent an apartment because of a person's race, it is a practice that still occurs, with qualified black homebuyers being 2.4% more likely than equally qualified white homebuyers to be denied an in-person appointment. The haunting shadow of the legacy of segregation is hurting our society. With just the issue of simple traffic jams, it impairs our ability to get to work on time, to get to school, and causes overall inconveniences to our everyday lives. And if that occurs from just the topic of traffic, think about all the other topics like getting jobs, or healthcare, or even voting. So what can you do? Start sharing posts, sign petitions, tell your friends and family, anything you can do to spread awareness. The legacy of slavery and segregation still exists. It affects our everyday lives. But if we don't start acting in the present, our future may become our past once again.